Monday Night Football, we have Washington and Philadelphia. This game doesn't look super appealing, but we still have good size contests on Draftkings. So, yeah, I'll do my best to break down for you guys. Again, personally, I'll probably not be able to play unless they lift the restriction. My account's currently restricted, just withdrawal issue. I had my old address, so working through that. Hopefully we can get that resolved soon so I can get back to playing DFS myself. But yeah, so again, we'll talk about the Monday Night Football Showdown slate in this video. I do also make videos for NBA DFS. Just uploaded my video for the 7-game NBA main slate tomorrow. And for Prize Picks, I make content as well. Prize Picks, guys, they are the sponsor of the video. You can use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. They do have player props up for tomorrow's game. And yeah, if you're not familiar with Prize Picks, again, you pick 2, 3, 4, up to 5 player props and win up to 10 extra money. You can mix and match sports too. A lot of different ways you can play for NFL, as you can see on the top here. A lot of different sports as well. So make sure to use that code. Make sure to use that code, guys. $300 if you do deposit $100 with that code. All right, and if you guys are looking for premium content, you can check out my Patreon. That is linked down below. We'll start off with Washington. Again, quickly looking at the Vegas odds, not projected for a lot of points. Washington, it's a 43.5 over under. And the Eagles are currently 11-point favorite. So, a game they should be playing from behind. Taylor Heineke, 9K. He's been serviceable for Washington, right? 15, 23, 14 fantasy points over the first 3 games. I think he's a decent option. He'll probably be pretty low owned. Usually at quarterbacks, when there's one team that's a pretty big favorite, like the other quarterback comes in like that 25 to 30% range, which I think that makes Heineke look relatively appealing. Again, it should be good game script. So, and he has ran the ball, for 29 and 17 yards in the last 2 games. So, a little bit of rushing upside for Heineke. McLaurin, very clearly their wide receiver 1. Last 3 games, 8, 8, and 9 targets. He also played, I believe it was 100% of the snaps. Let me just confirm that. He did. He played 100% of the snaps, 63 of these 63 snaps. So, do like McLaurin at the top. He is the skill position guy I feel the best about for Washington. Now, running back, so J.D. McKissic is out. You basically only saw 2 running backs play instead of the 3-headed monster that Washington's been running. So Gibson played 36 snaps. Robinson played 28. Gibson played a bit more on the passing down plays. So of the 2 Washington backs, I actually would give the edge to Gibson. He's just been more involved in the passing game already, where Brian Robinson been more the bruising back, not as much involvement in the passing game. So while Gibson is a bit pricier than Robinson, I would prefer Gibson for that reason. Again, DraftKings full point PPR. Curtis Samuel working in the slot has cooled off a little bit. Did get a touchdown last week. He started the season off really, really strong. I still think he's like a decent option in the mid-range. If you can't afford McLaurin, I'm fine settling on Curtis Samuel, who should also play a majority of the game. Below that, again, Robinson more the bruising back, 5.4K. I would say he's more of a contrarian option. I would rather get to Gibson. That doesn't mean that you can't play Brian Robinson. I also think Robinson will come in at less ownership. And then the big news here is Jahan Dotson is off the injury report. He's a full participant, so assuming no limitations, he should be the other wide receiver. Dotson and McLaurin out wide with Samuel in the slot. So as long as there's no limitations, I think Dotson's a decent play here. Last game they kind of played 3 wide receivers in his place. So if we go back to like early in the year, Washington is basically just playing 3 wide receivers the entire game with Dotson, McLaurin, and Samuel in the slot. So if you go back to that, then yeah, Jahan Dotson, 5K. Also, I think a decent play. Like I said, it should be a good game script, and as long as there's no limitations, I'm fine firing up some Dotson. Joey Sly will be the more contrarian of the 2 kickers, with Washington being double-digit underdogs, but I think he's still playable. The Commanders' defense, I'll probably pass. I mean, you never know. Any defense can get a defensive touchdown, but don't really know if I'm going to be prioritizing them. A punt play I don't mind is Logan Thomas, 2-6. I think it's kind of sneaky. Back-to-back donuts for him, but the encouraging sign here is the snaps. He played 45 of these 63 snaps and ran a lot of routes. So I do kind of like Logan Thomas at 2.6K. There's not a lot of great standout value. I think Logan Thomas is one of those guys we can look to. And then like the other wide receivers like De'Ami Brown, Cam Sims, Dax Milne, again, these guys all hovered in that like 10 to 20 snap range. Sims played the most, 27 snaps. With Dotson back, it's hard for me to feel good about any of these guys. So they're just in that dart throw range. John Bates is the backup tight end. He had 1 catch on 2 targets last week, playing 25 snaps. And then Armani Rogers, the third string tight end, he played 13 snaps. So that's going to wrap it up for Washington. Let's move on to Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, pretty easy to talk about. We kind of know what's happening in Philadelphia. At the top, Jalen Hurts. I don't have to tell you that Hurts is a good play. The rushing, has been down a bit for him over the last 3 games, 27, 10, and 23, but not super worried about it. He's clearly a guy that can go get you 50, 60, 70, 80 yards in the ground any game. So obviously like Hurts a lot at the top. He's going to be extremely popular, though. The two main wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, these guys are basically playing the entire game. Last game, Smith played 58 of the 65 snaps, 56 of the 65 for A.J. Brown. So both guys look good. A.J. Brown, probably has a little bit of a higher ceiling than Smith, but I mean, they both have big play upside. Brown's been a little bit more consistent of late. Smith, back-to-back single-digit fantasy point games, but that might lower the ownership on him. So with 10-6 for Brown, 8K for Smith, we'll see if the ownership comes in on them, but I think that they both look like decent options. Both guys have a very high ceiling. As long as Washington can put up some points or Philadelphia has to, continue to throw the ball, then, again, both these wide receivers, I wouldn't be surprised if, they're both in the winning lineup. So, like them both a good amount. Miles Sanders at 9.8K is definitely a safe option. So, he is the lead back in this backfield. They still are going to work in Kenny Gainwell, and you still will get a few snaps here and there for Boston Scott. But with Sanders and plus with this, over-under, like 10-point favorite or over, double-digit favorites, this is a game you could see, 15 to 20 carries from Miles Sanders. So, I do like him. Involvement in the passing game hasn't been great, but he's still a decent option. My only worry with Miles Sanders on this slate especially is I do think he's going to be a bit over-owned. So I think he makes for an interesting fade in GPPs. Dallas Goedert, 7-8. Again, very safe, averaging 7-8 targets a game. He had a big game last week. More often than not, he's probably going to get you, 10 to 15 fancy points. He's also going to play a majority of the game. The Eagles defense, you know what I'm going to say here. They're playable, but probably will be over-owned. We've seen some pretty crazy ownership on defenses recently in showdown slates, and thankfully, the defense people have been punished. So, Eagles defense are in play, but if they're going to be relatively popular, which I feel like they will be, I'm going to have none of them in tournaments. And then below that, you have Kenny Gainwell, 4-6. He is their third down back. He had 3 catches on 3 targets last week. I would say he's a little bit overpriced, but he's still firmly in play for GPPs. Jake Elliott should be a pretty popular value play. I think he's a safe option. Quez Watkins is the slot wide receiver. Feels a bit overpriced at 4.2K, but he still played 35 snaps of the 65 last week, and then Pascal played 20 of the 65. So he's wide receiver 4 at 1.4K. Neither are priorities, but both guys are definitely playable on this showdown. And then last but not least, we have Boston Scott at 1.6. So he is, kind of the bruising back. He can be brought in short yard situations. He did only have 1 carry last week, but previous to that, 6 and 7 carries. So at this price point, I think he's fine. Maybe if the game gets out of hand, he could play a little bit more. And that's really it. I mean, backup tight end is Jack Stahl. He played 23 snaps, ran a route in 10, $200. He did have 1 catch last week, so I guess he's, a large field tournament play. But that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. So again, if you have been enjoying the NFL DFS content, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And again, if you're playing NBA DFS tomorrow, check out my video. Also, probably we'll get a video up for Prize Picks tomorrow as well. So appreciate it as always, guys. Good luck on this slate, and I will see you in the next video.